There is something fundamentally different about the alcohol our ancestors drank. When a Viking warrior drank mead before battle, or a medieval monk sipped his evening cup, they weren't just getting drunk. They were consuming a beverage that had been fermented for months, sometimes years, using wild honey, herbs, and natural yeasts. It gave them energy, supported their immune systems, and caused almost none of the brutal hangovers, liver damage, and gut problems that modern alcohol creates. Today, you drink a few beers or a couple of cocktails, and the next morning you feel poisoned. Headache, nausea, brain fog, inflammation. Your body is telling you something. It's telling you that what you drank isn't food. It's a chemical cocktail designed for rapid intoxication and maximum profit, stripped of everything that made traditional alcohol safe and even beneficial. Medieval mead wasn't just a drink. It was a fermented superfood, rich in probiotics, enzymes, antioxidants, and micronutrients. Modern liquor is the opposite. It's distilled, filtered, loaded with additives, and consumed in ways that wreck your gut, spike your blood sugar, and inflame your liver. The difference isn't subtle. It's the difference between nourishment and poison. In 1923, archaeologists excavating a Bronze Age burial site in Germany discovered sealed ceramic vessels buried alongside a chieftain. When they opened the vessels, they found residue. Chemical analysis revealed it was mead, over 3,000 years old. But what shocked researchers was the complexity of the mixture. It wasn't just honey and water. There were traces of medicinal herbs, meadowsweet, mugwort, yarrow, and wild yeasts that don't exist in modern commercial fermentation. Further analysis showed that the mead had been aged for at least 2 years before burial, allowing the flavors to develop and the fermentation to produce a spectrum of organic acids, esters, and phenolic compounds. This wasn't a primitive beverage. It was a sophisticated, multi-ingredient elixir that required knowledge, patience, and intention. Compare that to the vodka in your freezer or the Indian Pale Ale in your fridge. Those beverages are engineered to be made fast, sold cheap, and consumed quickly. There's no aging, no complexity, no health benefit. Just ethanol, water, and a list of chemicals you can't pronounce. Before we continue, leave a comment. Do you enjoy having a drink? And if so, have you noticed that hangovers feel worse as you get older? Or that even small amounts leave you feeling off the next day? Let us know, because what you're about to learn will explain exactly why your body reacts the way it does, and why medieval drinkers didn't have that problem. Let's start with the most critical element. The foundation of medieval mead was raw, unpasteurized honey. Raw honey is a living substance. It contains over 200 bioactive compounds, enzymes like glucose oxidase and diastase, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and beneficial bacteria. When you ferment raw honey, those compounds don't disappear. They interact with the yeast, creating new compounds, organic acids, and probiotics. The result is a drink that's biologically active. It supports your gut microbiome, reduces inflammation, and even has antimicrobial properties. Mead was essentially a probiotic tonic with some alcohol in it. Modern alcohol? It starts with industrial sugar, corn syrup, or highly processed grains. Beer is made from malted barley that's been kilned at high heat, destroying most of the enzymes. Wine is made from grapes that are sprayed with pesticides and fermented with commercial yeast strains selected for speed, not quality. Spirits are distilled, which removes everything except ethanol and water. Then they add flavorings, colorings, and preservatives. There's nothing alive in modern alcohol. No enzymes, no probiotics, no beneficial compounds, just ethanol and chemicals. But what really makes the difference is the fermentation process. Medieval mead was fermented slowly, using wild yeasts from the environment. The honey water mixture, called must, was left in wooden barrels or clay vessels, often outdoors or in cool cellars. Wild yeasts from the air, the wood and the honey itself began fermentation naturally. This process took weeks, sometimes months. The slow fermentation allowed different strains of yeast and bacteria to work in sequence. First, certain yeasts converted sugars into alcohol. Then lactic acid bacteria moved in, producing lactic acid, which lowered the pH and added tartness. The result was a complex layered flavor and a beverage full of diverse microbes. This microbial diversity is incredibly important for your gut. When you drink something fermented with wild cultures, you're introducing beneficial bacteria that support digestion, immunity, and even mental health. Modern alcohol is fermented with single-strain commercial yeasts. These yeasts are lab-cultivated for one purpose: to convert sugar into alcohol as fast as possible. Fermentation is complete in days, not months. The result is a one-dimensional beverage with no microbial complexity and none of the health benefits that come from traditional fermentation. Worse, modern alcohol is often pasteurized or filtered to kill any remaining yeast or bacteria, ensuring that absolutely nothing alive remains. Medieval mead was also infused with herbs, not for flavor alone, but for medicinal properties. Meadowsweet was used to reduce inflammation and soothe the stomach. Yarrow supported digestion and liver function. Mugwort was believed to enhance dreams and relaxation. Hops, later used in beer, were originally added for their sedative and preservative effects. These herbs didn't just add complexity, they added compounds that counteracted some of the negative effects of alcohol. Meadowsweet, for example, contains salicylic acid, the same compound aspirin is based on. It reduces inflammation and can prevent the headaches associated with hangovers. Medieval brewers didn't know the chemistry, but they knew from experience that certain herbs made the drink smoother, easier on the body, and more pleasant the next day. Modern alcohol has none of this. The only additives are for colour, shelf life, or to mask poor quality ingredients. Caramel colouring in whiskey, sulfites in wine to prevent spoilage, artificial flavours in flavoured vodkas. These additives don't help your body. They stress your liver, trigger allergic reactions, and add to the toxic load. Another crucial part everyone forgets is the sugar content and how it affects your body. Medieval mead started with honey, which is a mix of glucose and fructose. But during the long fermentation, the yeast consumed almost all of the sugar, converting it into alcohol, carbon dioxide, and trace compounds. The final product was dry or semi-dry, meaning very little residual sugar remained. This is crucial. When you drink alcohol with low sugar, your blood sugar stays relatively stable. There's no spike, no insulin surge, no crash. Medieval mead was consumed slowly, sipped over hours during feasts and gatherings, allowing the alcohol to be metabolized gradually. Modern alcohol is loaded with sugar. Wine can have 4 to 12 grams of sugar per glass. Sweet cocktails, margaritas, daiquiris, piña coladas can have 30 to 50 grams. Even beer has residual sugars from unfermented malt. When you combine alcohol with high sugar, you create a metabolic disaster. The alcohol is prioritized by your liver because it's toxic and needs to be cleared immediately. While your liver is processing the alcohol, the sugar floods your bloodstream. Insulin spikes to deal with it, and the excess is converted into fat and stored in your liver. This is how you get fatty liver disease, not from fat, but from alcohol and sugar overwhelming your liver's capacity. Medieval drinkers didn't have this problem because their drinks were dry and consumed slowly. Let's address the issue of distillation. Medieval Europeans did not have distilled spirits. Mead, ale, and wine were all fermented, not distilled. Fermented beverages max out at about 12 to 18% alcohol because the yeast dies when the alcohol concentration gets too high. This natural limit meant that you couldn't drink yourself into oblivion quickly. It took time and volume. By the time you consumed enough mead to be dangerously drunk, your stomach was full, and you naturally stopped. distillation changed everything. By the 16th century, distilled spirits, brandy, whiskey, vodka, became common. Distillation concentrates alcohol to 40% or higher. You can consume a massive dose of alcohol in a single shot. Your liver can process roughly 1 standard drink per hour. When you drink spirits, you can overwhelm that capacity in minutes. The result is acute toxicity, cellular damage, and brutal hangovers. Medieval drinkers didn't have access to spirits, so they couldn't accidentally poison themselves the way modern drinkers do routinely. The alcohol content was self-limiting, and the beverages were consumed in a social, ritualized context that discouraged binge drinking. There's another factor that's almost never discussed. Medieval mead was aged. After fermentation, mead was transferred to barrels and left to mature for months or years. During aging, harsh compounds mellowed, flavors developed, and unwanted byproducts like methanol and fusel alcohols broke down or oxidized into less harmful substances. Aged mead was smooth, complex, and much easier on the body. Modern alcohol is rarely aged properly. Beer is rushed to market in weeks. Wine is often released within months. Even spirits that claim to be aged are sometimes artificially aged using additives, oak chips, or accelerated processes that mimic the color and flavor of aging, but skip the chemical transformations that actually make the alcohol safer to drink. The result is a harsher product with higher concentrations of toxic byproducts. These byproducts, congeners, are a major cause of hangovers. Cheap vodka, dark rum, and bourbon are loaded with congeners. Medieval mead had time for these compounds to break down or be consumed by bacteria during aging. Modern alcohol doesn't. Hydration and electrolytes are another thing people don't understand about liquor. Alcohol is a diuretic. It makes you urinate more, which depletes water and electrolytes. Medieval mead, especially when made with herbs and honey, contained trace minerals, potassium, magnesium, calcium from the honey and herbs. When consumed alongside food, which was always the case in medieval feasts, the drink provided some degree of electrolyte replacement. The honey also contains simple sugars that, while mostly fermented, leave behind compounds that support hydration and energy metabolism. Modern alcohol is consumed differently, often on an empty stomach, often without water. And the alcohol itself, especially spirits and sugary cocktails, contains nothing beneficial. No minerals, no vitamins, just ethanol, sugar, and additives. The dehydration is worse because there's nothing in the drink to mitigate it. This is why modern hangovers feel so severe. You're not just dealing with the alcohol, you're dealing with dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, and blood sugar crashes all at once. Medieval drinking culture was also fundamentally different. Mead and ale were consumed during meals, at feasts, in communal settings. Drinking was social and ritualized. You drank with food, with conversation, over hours. There was no concept of drinking to get drunk as quickly as possible. Drunkenness happened, but it was not the only goal. The pace of drinking was slow. The alcohol was absorbed gradually. Your liver could keep up. Modern drinking culture is the opposite. Pre-gaming before going out. Shots at the bar, chugging contests, binge drinking on weekends to blow off steam. The goal is intoxication, fast. This behavior is not just cultural. It's encouraged by the alcohol industry, which profits from volume. The faster you drink, the more you buy. The more you buy, the more money they make. Medieval drinking was about community, celebration, and nourishment. Modern drinking is about escapism, intoxication, and consumption. There's also the matter of what you eat. Medieval feasts included fatty meats, bread, cheese, vegetables, and stews. These foods slow the absorption of alcohol, coat your stomach, and provide the nutrients your liver needs to process the alcohol. Fat, in particular, is critical. It delays gastric emptying, meaning the alcohol stays in your stomach longer and is absorbed more slowly. Medieval drinkers always ate when they drank. Modern drinkers often don't. Drinking on an empty stomach, or with only salty snacks like chips or pretzels, means the alcohol hits your bloodstream fast and hard. There's no buffer. Your blood alcohol spikes, your liver is overwhelmed, and the damage is immediate. Eating fatty, protein-rich foods with alcohol is one of the simplest ways to reduce its harmful effects. Medieval people did this instinctively. We've forgotten it. While it matters what you eat, the quality of the ingredients matters even more. Medieval honey came from bees that foraged on wildflowers, herbs, and trees in unpolluted landscapes. The honey was raw, unheated, unfiltered. It retained all of its enzymes, pollen, and propolis. The water used to make mead came from wells, springs, and streams. It was clean, mineral-rich, and free of chlorine, fluoride, and industrial contaminants. The herbs were wild harvested or grown without pesticides. Every ingredient was as pure as nature provided. Modern alcohol starts with compromised ingredients. Honey, if it's used at all, is often heated, filtered, and sometimes adulterated with corn syrup. Grains for beer and spirits are grown with pesticides, herbicides, and synthetic fertilizers. Grapes for wine are sprayed heavily. Water is treated with chlorine and other chemicals. The base ingredients are already contaminated before fermentation even begins. Then, during processing, more chemicals are added. Fining agents to clarify beer and wine, often derived from fish bladder or animal gelatin. Stabilizers. Preservatives. The final product is a chemical cocktail, not a natural beverage. Your liver has to process not just the alcohol, but all of these additives. It's no wonder modern alcohol makes you feel terrible. Another underappreciated factor is the alcohol-to-nutrient ratio. Medieval mead had alcohol, but it also had nutrients. B vitamins from the yeast, antioxidants from the honey and herbs, minerals, enzymes. Your body could use those nutrients to help process the alcohol. Modern alcohol is empty calories. It provides energy in the form of ethanol, but zero nutrients. In fact, alcohol actively depletes your body of nutrients. It interferes with the absorption of B vitamins, magnesium, and zinc. It damages the lining of your gut, reducing your ability to absorb nutrients from food. Over time, regular consumption of modern alcohol creates nutrient deficiencies that make you feel worse, age faster, and become more susceptible to disease. Medieval drinkers, consuming small amounts of nutrient-dense mead with food, didn't face this problem. The drink supported their health rather than undermining it. There's one more factor, and it's invisible but powerful: intention. Medieval mead was made with care, with ritual, with respect for the process. Brewers were often monks, skilled craftsmen, or village elders. They treated the fermentation as something sacred. They blessed the barrels, chose auspicious days to start the brew, and tended the fermentation carefully. Whether or not you believe in the spiritual dimension, the practical result was a product made with attention, patience, and quality ingredients. Modern alcohol is made in factories. It's a commodity. The goal is efficiency, volume, and profit. The product is designed to be consumed fast and replaced quickly. There's no care, no craft, no respect. You can taste the difference. You can feel the difference, and your body knows the difference. So what do you do if you want to drink the way medieval people drank? First, choose quality over quantity. Drink less, but drink better. Look for small batch meads made with raw honey and traditional methods. They're expensive, but they're worth it. If you drink beer, choose unfiltered, unpasteurized ales from craft brewers who use traditional techniques. If you drink wine, Look for organic, biodynamic, or natural wines made with minimal intervention. Avoid cocktails with sugary mixers. If you drink spirits, choose high-quality aged varieties and sip them slowly. Always drink with food. Fat and protein are your friends. Eat before you drink, and while you drink, stay hydrated. Drink a glass of water for every alcoholic beverage. Add electrolytes if you can. Pace yourself. Medieval feasts lasted hours. Give your body time to process the alcohol. Don't chase intoxication. Chase enjoyment, flavor, and the social experience. Better yet, make your own mead. It's simpler than you think. Raw honey, clean water, wild yeast or a quality brewing yeast, and time. Mix honey and water, add yeast, let it ferment for weeks or months, then bottle and age it. You control every ingredient. You know exactly what's in it, and you'll create something far superior to anything you can buy. The process itself is rewarding. It connects you to a tradition that stretches back thousands of years. And the final product will be something you can drink with pride, knowing it's nourishing your body instead of poisoning it. The medieval peasant raising his horn of mead wasn't just drinking to get drunk. He was participating in a cultural ritual, consuming a beverage that had been crafted with care, that supported his health, and that connected him to his ancestors. Modern alcohol has lost all of that. It's been reduced to a delivery system for ethanol, optimized for profit and speed. The result is a wave of liver disease, gut problems, addiction, and chronic illness. The statistics are horrifying. Deaths from alcohol-related liver disease have doubled in the past 20 years. Young people in their 30s are developing cirrhosis. This didn't happen with medieval mead because the beverage was fundamentally different. It was made with integrity, consumed with intention, and integrated into a lifestyle that supported health. If you're getting value from this, hit that like button and subscribe. We're uncovering the traditional practices that the modern food and beverage industries have buried. The medieval brewer understood that fermentation wasn't just chemistry, it was transformation. It turned simple ingredients into something greater. Modern industrial alcohol does the opposite. It takes potentially good ingredients and degrades them into a product that harms you. The science is clear. Traditional fermentation, wild cultures, raw ingredients, slow aging, and mindful consumption create a beverage that your body can handle. Industrial production, chemical additives, rapid fermentation, and binge drinking create a poison. You have a choice. You can continue drinking what the industry sells you, or you can reclaim the knowledge our ancestors had. Knowledge that produced drinks worthy of celebration, not regret. Subscribe, and let's keep digging.